8.5 inches of rain fell in the Greenbrier section of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, according to the National Weather Service. And that caused a lot of flooding. More than 400 people were evacuated from the Greenbrier campground. 69 of those went to a shelter at Pittman Center Elementary School. Damage assessment is continuing today. Multiple agencies from around the county responded. The good news is no reports of deaths, injuries, or missing persons. The flooding did cause to be pushed into the Little Pigeon River. And so we're asking if anyone sees a vehicle downriver to please call 865-453-3200, report it. Again, the good news is no deaths, injuries, or missing people right now.
So no one's allowed back in right now at this point?
That's the campground's. The campground has their own rules, and they are trying to assess damage and asking people to leave and find them other accommodations.
When it comes to the alerts that were sent out, like warnings, how does that process typically work now, like the current process?
So our EMA works with the National Weather Service and other agencies to find out what's the status, what's coming up. We used social media last night and the Code Red alert system to the people in the affected areas or potentially affected areas with downstream flooding.
For some people who may not have gotten that alert, could it be because of the signal or like
there are a lot of factors in play. For Code Red, you need to sign up for the service, and then you choose if you want voice, email, or text messages. Service does have a part in it. We're in an area that has spotty service, so it can depend on that also. But and of course, it happened at midnight, around midnight, and afterwards when the alerts went out. So for a lot of people, that's not a great time to get alerts.
How do they become aware of signing up for this service? Is it when they make their reservation, or?
I can't speak to the campground. I don't know how they do their stuff. I know that the county government and the local city governments have Code Red on their homepage. And then from time to time, we do promotions of Code Red to let people know it's a free service to sign up to get alerts.
You may not be able to answer this, but I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's people around that, because a lot of people that I imagine they come out here, they want to unplug and just kind of relax. Are there people here, like on foot, that can go warn people, like, hey, you need to evacuate, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, it depends on the situation. For instance, in the 2016 wildfires, we did have agencies go door to door to alert people in cabins, and that would be the sheriff's agency or local police or EMA or fire. So that does happen from time to time, depending on the emergency and the area affected.
One of the things that I noticed was obviously there's lots of debris. The water was strong enough to lift cars up to get stuck in trees. Can you speak a little bit to how intense this flooding situation was here at the campground and the surrounding area?
Well, 8.5 inches in 2 hours is almost unheard of, and that's a lot of rain in a small area in a small amount of time. So I have not seen numbers on flooding levels, but I know if you drive around and you look at the areas, you can see some homes and businesses where it came up on the walls above the footers. Varying areas, some of the roads you'll see mud on where it crossed the road. So it was a unique experience as far as the amount of rain in that short of time in that concentrated area.
And you can still see that the water's raised.
Yes,
too, yeah.
It's still high, yes.
And when it came to first responders, how did they get out here? Were they called out here by 911? People calling
Yeah,
them?
they were alerted by the general public and by the National Weather Service, following the forecast, seeing what was happening. So they came out, and then the trickle-down effect, they alerted other agencies. So I know the Sheriff's Department was out here, the police, EMA, volunteer firefighters, a number of agencies responded.
And what did they see when they initially got here?
Well, I can't answer that. I don't know. I know they saw rising floodwaters and they saw debris, and then they came and helped the people in the campground get out.
Do you have any idea how many people stayed in the emergency shelter last night?
69 stayed at the Pittman Center Elementary School, and I believe that's still open right now.
And you mentioned that the rescues that were in the release. Can you clarify what those rescues were?
Yes, EMA did what they consider rescues. They walked to people who were on higher ground, put life jackets on them, and then walked them back over. So it may differ than what we think of rescues in the general public. They did have their boats here available. They didn't have to use them. It's my understanding no one was trapped or in danger, imminent danger at that time. But they did help people get off back to an area where they could get in their vehicle or their camper and then be safe.
We've heard from some people who said that they saw people standing on picnic tables that
Okay.
included stacked picnic tables on top of them. Is that what something Spear County EMA saw, or people?
I can't. I don't know. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know that. I don't know anything about those. So sorry.
And what's happening now?
County assessment, like county roads, everything's okay from the county's perspective.
They're still ongoing. They'll still come out and assess the roads and the bridges and the infrastructure. We're not, I mean, obviously there's some mud and debris on some of those things. We've not been told if there's any damage to any of those roads or bridges.
And what's the plan now? What are we in the process of doing?
So the teams are still out assessing the damage. The campground, which is operating on their own rules, I believe they're asking people to leave so they can assess damage and then reopen at some later date. But we'll continue until we make sure that everything is assessed as far as damages to infrastructure and that all the people are fine and safe.
Thank you.
Good?
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
Do you know if anyone? Do you have a contact with anyone? That
I
can
don't.
speak on behalf
I
of
don't
them?
know. I mean, I know they have people there, but as far as you may be able to ask them, I know they're. You could probably walk across the bridge and ask them. I don't know what they're really working on getting people out right now.